Is on a topic that is having already far-reaching implications on transportation mobility in our country. And this hearing should also serve as a wake-up call to companies that have flooded our roadways with disruptive technologies and investor capital, that their days of operating with little public policy and regulatory oversight in the transportation space are coming to an end. The transportation landscape in many cities has been upended by these TNCs, transportation network companies, led by Uber and Lyft, who refuse to testify today, having led us on for 6 or 8 weeks saying they would testify. They just told us on the holiday weekend they wouldn't come. They have their transformative technology platforms, connecting riders, revolutionize travel, the way we travel. But there's a lot of problems with this model. First off, TNCs are contributing in a major way to traffic congestion. In San Francisco, where the very first Uber ride was taken in 2010, in 6 years, traffic delays increased by a total of 40,000 hours, vehicle miles traveled increased by 630,000 miles, and half of them are attributable to TNCs. That, private and even shared TNC rides add more congestion and more emissions, not less. How these new technologies are integrated into our existing systems, what rules TNCs must follow, must be carefully crafted to ensure that these services are truly a good option. Lawmakers at the federal, state, and local level need to think far beyond just whether this new service gets people from point A to point B, what this new business model means for public safety, jobs, emissions, transit service, and other factors must be at the center of any policy decisions to allow these companies to access our infrastructure. The failure today of Uber and Lyft to appear is a telling sign that they don't want to answer questions on the record about their operations. I read a news account today that they've met with all the members, or almost all the members of the subcommittee, and had great conversations. Well, they didn't come to see me. Now, perhaps they don't want to talk about their public safety problems. And I'm grateful to Representative Smith and Swazi for being here today and starting off this hearing with statements and their ideas on how to improve the safety of ride-hailing services. I have been focused on the potential dangers of pairing passengers with poorly vetted drivers for years. In June 2015, I wrote to then Uber CEO Travis Kalanick urging the company to conduct fingerprint-based background checks. 4 years later, the process that Uber and Lyft use to vet drivers is not fingerprint-based. It's woefully inadequate, leaving passengers vulnerable and at risk of harassment or assault. In my district, in the small city of Eugene, Oregon, they vetted 13 drivers as being right up to the standards of Uber and Lyft. Unfortunately for them, my city requires taxi drivers, and they were deemed to be taxi drivers, to take a fingerprint background check. Oh, guess what? 13 of them were convicted felons. One was a sexual predator. One was a murderer. And they were all just good to go as far as Uber and Lyft. And then Uber and Lyft show up in my state legislature and try and preempt communities from having higher standards. They spent millions of dollars in Texas on that same issue. They don't want people to be fully vetted because they want anybody and everybody who can get behind the wheel who might or might not have a valid driver's license to be driving for them. This has got to end. Now, they are also, as we've seen, making a lot of their employees yet another victim of the gig economy. California has deemed that these people are employees. Uber and Lyft say, no employees, not employees, contractors. We have no liability, no nothing. They just use our platform. Except they extract massive payments from these drivers, and the drivers are totally dependent upon the system. And now they're sponsoring an initiative or trying to sponsor an initiative in California to repeal that law. Now, so it could be public safety, it could be abuse of their workers and what they're doing to them. Many of these people are working, according to calculations, at less than the minimum wage in these states. Of course, they're contractors. They don't have to get a minimum wage, $9.81 an hour. That's less than the minimum wage in my state. Now, they don't reveal the data on the prevalence of assaults. They don't reveal any data on how people are paid. Uber has posted more than $5 billion in losses in the second quarter of this year, Lyft $650 million in loss. That's despite employing felons, sexual predators, paying abysmal wages. They're still losing money. This is not a sustainable business model. At the same time, they're asking us, the United States Congress, this committee, to consider subsidizing their operations if they partner with transit agencies and local governments to provide connecting service to existing public transportation. In surface transportation reauthorization, this committee will certainly evaluate how to incentivize greater transportation options. Overcoming our congestion mobility challenges, particularly in urban areas, will require some innovative solution. However, this hearing should put those not here, Uber and Lyft, on notice that for their long-term survival, for any hope of ever partnering with agencies who utilize federal funds, they're going to have to clean up their acts, and they've got to come forward. And if they don't come forward, we'll legislate without hearing from them. With that, Madam Chair, I thank the other witnesses who will be here today, and yield back.